It's really a pleasure to be here with the group. And want to talk through um, using data-driven insights to improve agent quality. Really good tie-in with Alan's comments about AI. I think there's a lot there. Before I get into that, yes, I did swim the English Channel. I'll give you my 15-second fun fact. It's 21 miles as the monkfish swims, but I did it in 26 miles. Took 11 and a half hours, and it was my most supremely satisfying day of swimming in my life. Okay, so the plan is I'll go through a sample use case, then talk a little bit more about the details of what I'm suggesting here as a sort of a new way of looking at QA. And then if we have time, I have some use cases I can dive into, but I think we can supply those slides if we don't get to them to the team. So starting off, if we look at I'm just going for a typical scenario, somewhat simplified. This would just be for a call center situation, and typical scenario might be that some of your KPIs are sort of out of whack. Handle time, speed of answer, abandonment rate are all definitely out of standard. And this kicks off typically some kind of an investigation. Looks something like looking at the KPIs, and I'm reading through this black area of this slide. Finding out, is staff there? Do we have like a COVID outbreak and we're missing out our people? No, that's there. Our staff is here. This is the one I always forget, IVR functionality. Is IVR functioning as expected? And then, obviously talking to agents, listening to some calls to understand what's driving this incident. Ultimately, get to the answer, maybe talking to the agents, talking to IT, figure out that maybe something's wrong with the login on the website or the mobile app, both of them. That drives actionable insights, which could be opening a ticket to get the thing resolved, a strategy to assist customers in handling those calls. And then if we get a feeling that this is going to go be a prolonged issue, maybe a web banner is added to the website to advise customers what's going on. So that's typical. That's your typical scenario, typical investigation. What I'm proposing here is this data-enabled analysis, which, okay, this data-enabled analysis looks like reporting that is available at the enterprise agent and a couple different levels, but it indicates that there is a elevated need for calls related to the authentication journey, which would be your login, and you have 95% of your calls in the last 2 hours were about people not being able to log into the website. Ultimately, you get to the same actionable insights, but you just get there a lot quicker. And so, oops, fast fingers on the mouse. Anyway, so when we look at our traditional ways of measuring QA, I'm not going to go through this, but with a kind of a call center slant here, looking at these KPIs, they tell us a lot of things. They tell us, they give us a good feel for what's going on, but what's missing? And what I would say is, how well are we managing those types of questions? Do our agents understand what they need to know? Are they able to explain what's going on? and able to address the questions that are coming in? Are agents following the playbook? This could be a compliance issue in some instances, or do the agents, they find a better way to do things? Ultimately, also, there's what topics are driving negative or positive trends, and what are customers telling us about their pain points. I think those last two bullets are also telling us, are sort of getting proactive. So how can we look at emerging trends, understand where our sticking points are and our gaps in our ability to service those questions, and address those things proactively before they get bigger. I keep thinking of an example of COVID. When I was at a bank during COVID, we started getting tons of questions about is my money secured by FDIC? That was a constant one. And when we go back and look at this next slide, is sort of the top, going back to the original instance or the initial issue, we would see KPIs. This is obviously simplified, but we would see where our handle time, hold time, utilization, NPS, all these things are firing up. But there's not a lot of detail there. There's not a lot to go on. And if we can add in unstructured data elements to these KPIs, so we have our standard KPIs and we add the unstructured KPIs in there as well, sentiment, effort, and emotion. But then more importantly, adding the additional dimension of topic. So in this instance, instead of seeing just a big problem at the top, this top of the page, and look at the bottom. Oh, lost my happy thoughts again. We see clearly authentication is driving our problems. It's impacting everybody else, all these other topics, but based on combining the data together, we see that authentication is driving the conversation, and everything else is sort of bogged down with that. So you may ask yourself, well, how do I get there? How do I get these? How do I get this this additional dimension to call center KPIs? And it comes down to, clearly we have our customer and our agent and the interactions between those. All of those interactions have data points, breadcrumbs of data, whether it's phone, email, chat, could be social media, the list goes on and on. Ultimately, we have to pull all that unstructured data together and make something out of it. So let's take each one of these. So say with voice, what additional step? We have to convert voice to text. And then we have the other two, email and chat, that come in as text. Pull all that together into a system. And I'll speak a little bit more about this black box, so to speak, that derives what I was talking about, the topics, those customer journeys, effort, sentiment, emotional content. It does this through AI, text analytics, natural language processing. So you already, most people already have this blue area. So let's stay with this. You can build these things, or you can buy them. My experience was at a larger firm. We chose to build it, and then going to a smaller organization, we ultimately did buy. We looked at, there's some great vendors out there that are able to combine structured and unstructured data together to really paint that picture of what's really going on with your customers, and enables you to really understand where your gaps in customer service are. Anyway, all of this information goes into dashboards, scorecards. QA analysts can pick this up and start working with the agents to sort of show those improvements, or shore up the experience. And the last thing I would say is, with this enhanced customer service, this really is the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more things you can do with it, so many other groups that are involved and can benefit from this level of data related to the customer's behavior and all those interactions. What's happening? What are the trends we're seeing? Product development, technology, marketing, all of those can definitely benefit. So I'll pause there for a moment. And Paul, should we go ahead and should I go through this quick use case, or how are we doing on time?
We're doing pretty good. We've got about 2 minutes left. So if you can get through that in 2 minutes, that would be great. And then that'll leave just a couple minutes for questions. Also, we do have some great chat going on over there in the chat. So John's got a great question. Some of you are responding to. I'd love to get more thoughts on that. Thanks for asking that question, John. And then if you have questions going along, please post those in the chat too, because we will hopefully have a couple minutes for questions with Paul. So please continue.
Okay. So real quick, this is just another really simplified example of what I'm talking about. So let's say this simplified section up here in the upper left is your scorecard for your journeys that you're monitoring and you're delivering service for. And then what I like to talk about next is these numbers, this 95, 93, 71. These could be what we call a CX score, and they can be based on anything that is important to you as an organization to monitor at multiple levels through your service capabilities. So essentially, you start with 100%, and in this example, I would say I had in mind sentiment, effort, and success. Those three things. Anything that's negative in those areas takes away from your score. So if you look at your agent level 1 analysis, everything's fine. Most of our agents are doing a really good job, 95, 93%, but agent 77 has a lower score, and we can drill down to the next level and see the topics that the agent 77 is working. All of their conversations or their email that they're working are broken down by topic, and we see that they're doing a good job in all of them except for pay. So let's filter for just the pay topic on the next level down, and you see standard KPIs related just to that pay topic. And then drilling down even further, and this is where the rubber really meets the road, let's pull agent 77 in, talk to them about these specific filtered pay calls or emails where they scored really low. And what we find out typically is this person missed the memo or was on vacation when some new pay-related feature was rolled out, and we can coach them up and get them back on a good track and help their agent score to get back up. But this is kind of the targeted coaching that is possible with this type of technology.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. And going through those kinds of use cases. We have about 1 minute. So if y'all want to put any questions that you have in the chat, if we don't get to them, we can post those on our LinkedIn. Like I had mentioned, Paul Robinson has agreed to hop in there and answer those questions. I think this dovetails nicely off of what we talked about last month. And one of the emerging themes that I am constantly seeing, and I have to tell y'all, I will not tell you the name of the bank, but we bank with a bank that calls us every month to collect our dang mortgage because we can't set up auto pay because the agent doesn't know how to do it. And the people that we have to call never answer the phone. And if they had AI tech, voice to text, and they were doing what you're talking about, Paul, like, oh my gosh, we wouldn't have to go through this insanity, this merry-go-round of insaneness that we go through every single month. I actually won't recommend that bank. Even though they have pretty good rates, I will not recommend that bank because their agents are actually, even though we've corrected our old address, they're still sending mail to our old address. So there's a lot there that could be done by simply going voice to text and then having AI analyze what the trends are. I think that's such a huge point. And then I like how you outlined how we can get into that deeper. So a lot of great stuff there, Paul. Thank you so much. I'm actually going to stop the recording now.